N'Kobe Dean, Breece Hall, Logan Hall, who's a young man who played high school ball here in our backyard in college at Houston, Jalen Petrie. These are some of the names that are out there. How quickly, I mean, you don't see them staying out there very long, do you?
I think Logan Hall's the first pick off the board. I thought Logan was going to get taken by the Buccaneers. I still do. Logan's phenomenal. Love Logan to death in terms of the player. The first way sounds a little weird when I say it. Breece Hall, he's running back number one. I don't think it's close, so he should go fast. Who else did we say there? Petrie. I don't know where Petrie's going to go. I've heard solid second round, so I expect him to. N'Kobe Dean, I think he might wait. I think he might be waiting until the end of the second round. The team that I would most say if he's going to get picked up a little earlier is the Washington Redskins. Jamin Davis last year was a guy that I thought they'd really like. They did take him in the first. They've moved him out to weak side linebacker, and I could see both of those coaches really liking that field general in N'Kobe. So Redskins wouldn't surprise me with him at all.
Matt, thank you, man. Enjoy. Sit back, relax, and enjoy as a talent goes into 32 more picks, 64 picks tonight as well with rounds 2 and 3. We appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
All right, thanks, man.
Matt Alkire, all 22 clips with us. Came on. Again, he ran the All-Star game in Vegas. Loved the Baylor players. And now we see what happens tonight.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think Jalen Petrie should go in the second round just based on what every single piece of intel has said. Every report, every analysis, everything has had him as a second rounder, if not in the late first, which obviously didn't happen. So if Jalen Petrie's not picked in the second round, then and he has to go in the third round. But that would obviously be very disappointing. And I think tonight with rounds 2 and 3. That with the running receivers, maybe a Tyquan Thornton gets a call tonight because, I mean, he's ultimately, I mean, in the next 5 to 10 guys that are remaining now after the run yesterday, and obviously there's a need for receivers, but, I would think that he's a candidate to possibly go tonight. JT Woods a candidate to possibly go tonight. But those would probably be the three I'd feel best about. Baylor's bulk is, and we've said this from day one, is always going to be the day 3, the 4 through 7. But I do think they'll end up with at least a couple of guys getting their names called tonight. And if I'm wrong on that, I mean, I'll just say Jalen Petrie for sure should. And then if Woods and Thornton were to fall in the 4th, that wouldn't be a shocker. But do they have a chance to get picked tonight? Yeah, I'd say there's a fair chance for all 3 of those guys.
Lance Zierlein, NFL media draft analyst for NFL.com. I was looking at his mock, and there's mocks of dozens and redone deals because of who was drafted or who wasn't. Last night, he actually has Tyquan Thornton going earlier than Jalen Petrie, but both of them in the second round.
Well, the receivers, again, after last night, I mean, we saw how important they are, so that would make sense because Tyquan was looked at as like a top 15 to top 20 wide receiver based on just, the average of all the rankings that are out there. And you saw a boatload of them go off the board last night. So by default, he's a top 10 receiver sitting on the board right now. So with 2 rounds and plenty of teams clearly still needing help at that position, I don't see more A.J. Brown, trades happening. I mean, if there are more trades tonight, that wouldn't be a shocker. But, I mean, the magnitude of what we saw last night is probably not going to be met. So, yeah, that wouldn't be a shock. So, Tyquan, Jalen, JT, those would be my safest bets as far as potentially who we're talking about tomorrow morning.
8 teams did not have a pick in the first round. Now, there might be less. Now, I guess this was printed for me today, the NFL draft on notes that I get from the NFL from being a media member with NFL.com. 8 teams did not have a first-round pick. 8 teams had multiple first-round picks, which makes sense because some of them had 2. Some of them, of course, a couple of them had 3. But, guys like Isaiah Spiller from A&M, interested where he –
running backs, they didn't give a blank about them last night.
Breece Hall will be most likely, without question, that first one. But I think you'll see probably 3 or 4 A&M players go tonight as well. And what he said with Logan Hall, possibly the first name mentioned from Houston.
Yeah, and I just saw where Ross Matisic, former Baylor long snapper, just signed an extension with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was an undrafted free agent 2 years ago, and played all 16 games last year at long snapper. So he's getting rewarded from the Cons, and will be sticking around in Jacksonville with new head coach Doug Peterson. So congrats to Ross Matisic. And I do have to mention, I know